Hey everyone, a big welcome to the next Balancing Acts episode from Forging People. This is kind of where we get kind of my lived experience and experiences of different things in life, and I get two people that actually know what they're doing so that you get that real four-dimensional approach of life and business and everything in between. And today we're talking about crafting your brand as a public speaker. So this isn't about the speaking element so much. This is about actually what it looks like, the memory hooks, the feels, and what you leave people with. And today I've brought to you two of my very own entourage, two amazing people, Marcus and Jack, to bring their expertise to the room. I know from seeing a lot of your names in here, there's a lot of budding speakers in the room today. So you're going to get a lot of top tips from Jack and Marcus today. But again, if you have any questions, we'll be coming back to the room on quarter to the hour. We'll also give you a place to reach us away from here as well. So please do save them up. If you want to use the chat box to introduce yourself and say who you are, where you're from, think like you're on the chase, that kind of thing, then please do. Be good to see who we've got in the room as well. So my name is Nick Elston. I'm an inspirational speaker on the lived experience of mental health. I'm a keynote conference and event speaker and also a transformational speaking coach. Branding has been everything to me, to an extent now where I get bookings based on the fact of, are you the big guy with the cap and the beard? Yeah, we've been told to book you. Means I can never shave again or take my hat off. I do have hair, I promise you I have hair. But it's an amazing thing how personal brand sticks. And even things down to the strap line that I use at every conference that I speak at, every storm runs out of rain. This has really followed me around. And I think that's a really important thing to kick off with. A personal brand is everything, because it's not about what we say to people. It's about how we make people feel. And very often, it's the feeling part can be generated by personal brand. I work in lots of different spaces, and it's great to see from the audience today, lots of people from lots of different parts of the world, lots of different spaces, but we work in a lot of different sectors, right from the front line to organizations and people leaders and lots of different things. TV, media work, we do a lot of those stuff, right through to host and creator of KFC TV. Look, I trained all my life for that gig. I'm 6'4", 24 stone, hosting a fried chicken TV station. I deserve that gig. Trust me. I trained all my life for it. See Dad shaking his head at me. I know. Anyway, Forging People, basically one of the people leaders, trusted partners. We do lots of different kind of L&D development work, well-being leads, speaker liaisons, event management, lots of different things within this space. I've always built a reputation as a speaker, sharing my experiences without the filter attached to them, to give people a really kind of different 4D unique experience as opposed to the mainstream. And for me, this was the start of the personal brand. I was also told this should be my first album cover, but when I can learn to sing or play an instrument, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But joining me today, so as the speaker, I have to have an amazing entourage of people that support me in what I do. And both of these people have been with me for years, followed me around for years. And the first person is Marcus Ahmad. Marcus.
Hello, Nick.
Introduce yourself, please, my friend.
Yeah, glad, Nick. Hi there, Nick. Hi, Jack. And hello, everybody else. I am Marcus Ahmad. I'm a commercial photographer who specializes in branding photography.
You're really hiding your light under a bushel here. Former rock star, Alan Rickman.
Oh, dear. Oh, God. Oh, dear. Yeah, okay.
Your expertise will shine through, I'm sure. And Jack Cooke, the big JC. Over to you, my friend. Introduce yourself.
Oh, hey, everyone. So, yeah, my name's Jack Cooke. I've been making videos since I was about 12. So, yeah, only a few years back. I wish. So yeah, I take businesses and I go, look, there are people out there that want to see what you do. They want to know what you do. They want to get behind you. They want to become a fan of your business. How are we going to make that happen? And video for me is, leading in making that happen, really bringing out the emotions, bringing people to your story and really telling it, and finding those true fans that really want to buy from you, rep you, and do all the great things that your business does for them.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And both of my speakers today, both Jack and Marcus, have also built a great reputation in this world of personal branding, even going into the realms of kind of marketing, especially when you're marketing yourself as a public speaker. In fact, the first time I met Jack, I was actually being videoed by somebody else for a shoot, and he followed me around still, and he ended up with me, and for the rest of the years has followed. So guerrilla marketing works, I think. The theory behind that. So again, question, I guess we're going to throw some questions to Marcus and Jack. Marcus, if we can kick off with you. From your perspective, what is the importance of branding and creativity if you are a budding or out there public speaker right now? Why is it important for you to have assets in that stuff?
Oh, well, that's a great question, Nick. Well, maybe, you know, to start off with that, maybe we should, it's just worth just digging in a bit deeper and clarifying what a brand and a personal brand is. What is the difference? I think we're all very aware what branding is. You know, companies like Nike, Apple, Lidl, my favorite, Paul Smith, clothes designer. We all know those. And as soon as I say those words, you immediately get an image in your mind about that company, be it a good image or a bad image. Hopefully, I'm sure they'll agree it's a good image. A personal brand is a little bit different. It draws on that. And it's quite a recent thing. And that's why I think it's just worth digging in what it means. In the olden days, a personal brand was really just for rock stars, film stars, and people like that. These days, a personal brand is for everybody. And what has changed? It's social media. It's the internet. That has given everybody the power to have a personal brand. It used to be a shop front. You know, you go down your high street and you look around, and then you know what that business did by their shop front. You look through the window, oh, they do this, haberdashers, whatever it might be. Nowadays, we're going to find it more through social media. It's a result of the digital age. So when we think of social media and people who've got strong personal brands, we tend to think about initially influencers. You know, I think but I think you would agree, Nick, they're the first people who really started to understand what this idea of a personal brand was. You mentioned earlier about your personal brand, and you summed it up beautifully in just one sentence: a cap and a beard. Well, 4 words. That is just perfect. That's what you can do with a personal brand. As Jeff Bezos summed it up beautifully from Amazon, a personal brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. It's what they say about your back, behind your back.
I love that. Thanks, Marcus. I think, Jack, the question I have for you, and you did, I remember doing a kind of a mini documentary for me years ago where you followed me to an event and all around an event. So it was like a behind the scenes look. And you very much buy into this concept of legacy through videography, through storytelling, and telling the complete story. You do a lot of work with speakers such as myself, but also people that are influencers, thought leaders, professional sports people. Why is storytelling such an important part of this piece when it comes to branding and creativity?
Well, let's make it real simple. Every one of us today is going to go home, hopefully to someone, even just talk to their cat like I do. And they're going to say, you know, they're going to tell a story to that person. You never go in and go, somebody cut me up, and that is the end of it. You always go, oh, well, I was driving up the A38 and I was just pulling up to the traffic lights, and this guy just pulled up beside me and decided to fly past me and cut me up. And I was really angry. Storytelling is like the thread in the fabric of everything we do, whether it's, you know, something bad happening to us, and you tell our partner, our friend, our cat, whatever, or it's whether you're talking about your brand and really getting that out to the world. Storytelling is powerful because, you know, it lights up so many lights in our brain. You know, the neurological effects of being able to tell a story is unbelievable. People remember stories, so, you know, especially, you know, when we tell it in the right way. And what's the right way? Beginning, middle, and end. You know, it's a hero story. This is how it starts. This is how, you know, the problem that, you know, we need to solve, and this is how we come to, you know, resolve that. People want to see that in business. They want to see that either in personal brand. You know, what are people doing? We watch people that vlog, like you said, speakers I've worked with, you know, professional sports people. It's just a variety of different people. It's always the same thing. It's, you know, telling that story of the individual, and then also talking about the brand. People want to gravitate towards your story, or they want to be pushed away from your story because those might not be your ideal customers. So by telling story and having that powerful impact of being able to bring out emotions, bring out, have people relate to you in a more personal way, or to your brand in a more personal way. It's so influential, and like I said, storytelling is part of our daily life, and it's what every human being gravitates towards and connects us with.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jack. And Marcus, I guess from you as a photographer, as somebody who captures brands and identities, your passion for talking about this is seriously unrivaled in my world. That you were the first person to talk about why it was important even to include it in your individual slide decks and in the individual publications and articles, and making sure that you had that consistency around it. Talk to us why photography, for people here today that want to build their assets, their credibility, their visibility, why is photography and professional photography so important?
Well, thank you for saying that, Nick. And yes, I am very passionate about photography. I've been doing it for about 30 years now. I studied it for 7 years, which was like 5 years at college and university, and then I assisted for 4 years. And part of my career has been as a senior lecturer at university. I'm a senior lecturer in fashion and advertising photography. So I've got a big passion for it. I know for sure. And hopefully it doesn't come across as a bit overbearing sometimes. But photography, why do I think it's so important? Do you remember that in the olden days, before digital came out, people used to say, if my house was on fire, the thing that I'd always go and get would be my photography collection, my collection of photography prints. That was always very dear to people's hearts. And I think these days it still is. Photographs we're very connected to our photographs, but as Jack was saying, because they tell a story. And even though these days they're not, it might be on the cloud or something. I think if you lose your phone, you're going to stress about losing your photographs first of all. Why do photographs hold such a connection to us? And why, more importantly, are they so good for business and for personal branding? A photograph can tell a story within seconds. Within 0.7 seconds, you can look at a photograph and you can build a picture of that person. You've got an image going through your head. You've got a story going through your head. Photographs are easily distributed. When I work with my clients, I might take 50, 100 shots on a branding shoot. Those can be distributed instantly over many, many platforms very easily. They can also be shared over a long period. There's a lot of, if you take a photograph correctly and do it in a branding shoot in a correct way, you should be getting a lot of value out of those photographs. So to recap, why is photography so good for branding? Gives a result instantly, easily distributed, and can be used on many different platforms.
I love that. And I think in a world of kind of filters and kind of stage stuff, I think actually the natural stuff seems to kind of shine through. I chose this picture firstly because you can always trust a guy in double denim. or never trust a guy in double denim, one of the two. But the reason I chose this picture for this piece was because from this shoot that we were doing, this is actually for a bigger shoot that we were doing outside of my Find Your Voice event. Yes. I remember somebody shouting out to me from the background. And what you're very good at is capturing the moments when I'm not looking at camera.
Yeah.
So actually, I know this was actually a genuine laugh because somebody I think they had insulted me, to be fair, but I thought it was funny anyway. So I quite like that. And I think certainly there's this fear of if we haven't got anything just right or not filtered correctly, then it's the wrong thing to do. Very often, I guess it's the same with videos. We'll find out from Jack soon. The outtakes are far better than the finished product sometimes. But coming on to Jack, I think, like I said, always trust a guy in double denim. Both of you form part of my team at Find Your Voice Live. You do an exercise at the end alongside me where it's called the Walk On Music exercise. We get people to walk onto their music, and there's a whole big thing, and we love doing it. And between the two of them, they really capture the moment and give people a real takeaway. But Jack, engagement is your thing. 100% is your thing. Videography to capture engagement. Again, what should people know about this? What should people know here if they're going to be launching a speaking career, looking for paid engagements, looking to get an audience? Why should videography feature as part of their toolkit?
Well, first and foremost, videos should feature in everybody's engagement for anything. If they want to engage a business, a brand, or their speaking gigs, they want more. I mean, first and foremost, if we're talking about speaking specifically, no one's going to take your word for it, on a bit of paper or, on an email that you're great. There you can have all the testimonials written out for you, and everybody's saying, you're great, you're great, you're great, but so is everybody else. The proof is actually showing people exactly what they're going to get, what the power of your story is, and why people should listen. Because whether you're doing these gigs for free, they still have an audience that that needs to be entertained, or needs to feel those emotions, needs to go on that journey, that storytelling. Or if they're paying you, that's cash that they're not going to get back. So if you want them to part with their money, they need to know that you are the best they're going to get for that story, that whatever they're trying to achieve through that event. And I think that you need to be distributing this online as well. So you've not just going out and finding the right events, but you need to be able to build that audience as well. Because utilizing your videos online, telling those that message as Nick does with those little tidbits, gives people those touch points to build that trust with you. You'll find that the more video you put out, the more engagement that you will get from those videos, and with that, the more touch points with your ideal customers, as long as you're distributing it right. But I'm not going to get into the social media and have another conversation, but it needs to work. And then people over time, you'll be getting calls going, oh, I see you do a talk, and you'll be known as that speaker. You won't be known as the guy that had that story. You'll be the speaker that has that story. And that's when people start recommending you. That's when people start to notice you. That's when people start booking you, because they know exactly who you are, what you do, why you do it, and the type of audience that they need to put you in front of, for them to get the best value from you. And that is what video is beautifully, crafted to create all of that resonance with your audience.
Amazingly put, Jack. That's such an important thing. So somebody who's been speaking professionally for 10 years now, most of the time, the bookings that I get are from people that have already done their research on my photos, my videos, and my testimonials. They've made their decision before they've reached me. They've realized that that's the theme they want, the speaker they want, for the budget they want, and then they're in a position to book. So all of the legwork is done by the photography and the videography. And I wanted to mention that because it's so important to back up what Jack and Marcus have both said there, to have these things in place. So I always say to people that even if you're at a stage where you're just starting out on your speaking career, if you're going to speak for the local WI or Rotary or networking group or whoever the audience is, if being paid is not on the table right now, then always ask for permission for photography, permission for videography, as well as that feedback, so that you can start to build a collection of assets to work in your favor. Some of the things that I use now have been kind of found way back in the day, that I've actually gained back in the day through the content I've delivered. So thank you both for explaining that so well. Visual and verbal communication. One of the things I've noticed a lot, certainly to start with in the day where social media first took off, and we will do a session one week on social media, because I'm not on Facebook, I'm not on Twitter, I'm not on Instagram, I'm only on LinkedIn. So we don't have to be everywhere all the time. I absolutely back up what Jack says about being somewhere, be where your target clients are, and for me, that's LinkedIn. But one of the things that I think is most disconcerting for people is to act online differently to you act offline. The way that you build your personal brand, the way that I've positioned myself as a speaker, as an individual, people have an expectation of me before I get to the place where they are. Very often I've not met them in person before, so it's important to make sure that we represent ourselves online as well as we do offline. And that's what I'm going to throw to the guys now, actually. Jack, if we could start with you. Why is it so important to have consistency into the person that shows up and the person that they've booked or the person that they've connected with online?
Do you mean consistent communication? Is that right? Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess expectation, again, it's that identity piece, isn't it? Actually buying, I mean, there is an element to say that there are people that I've met online who are very aggressive, and when I've met them in person, not so aggressive, but they just worked out I'm 6'4" and 24 stone. But that's a whole different line. What I mean more so is that actually culturally, if people have worked out you're a great fit from a call, from a Zoom call, from a telephone call, and then they bring you in, you need to show up as that. We need to put the best version of you on. How could you kind of convey your culture through the use of, in your case, videography?
Well, in my case, don't fake it. Simply, I do believe that, if you're a grumpy sod, be a grumpy sod. If it works for you, if it works for your brand, be that, because, it's so inauthentic when you turn up, you show people this side of you, you turn up, they're going to have a bad feeling about it. Like, if you don't turn up as the person you're meant to be. And I mean that even if you're having a crap day, turn up as that person, because it's nobody else's fault. Nobody else needs to feel that. And that will really taint your personal brand, because what happens behind the scene, and when you're not in the room, when the people are not in the room, they'll go, yeah, they were great online. I love watching their stuff, but they turned up and talk rubbish. They just didn't have the enthusiasm or the care to be there. You need to be consistent. Or even if you're like, oh, they were really bubbly on, but they were talking about a subject that, they talk about online with, and they're somber about it. You don't want to turn up all bubbly and funny and happy when you're talking about something, online you've been talking about with a somber attitude. So it goes both ways as well. People need to feel like they're getting the genuine deal. And I think that, you will look online and you will see so many influencers, so many people that are living their best life and doing all this great stuff. And actually, when you meet them in person, that's just not their life at all. And that is hard to keep up. So don't, when you're speaking, that's going to be hard for you to keep up as well. Don't do it. Just be yourself, whatever fit that is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that kind of superficiality. I think depth is such a strong word, and actually being prepared to show up as you. It takes vulnerability for sure, but actually to be authentic means that you actually put yourself in a market of one. So there is nobody like you. If I just called myself a mental health speaker, for example, I could probably throw a net outside now and catch 10 walking by at one go, because everyone wants to be a mental health speaker. But because I kind of clearly position myself as inspirational speaker on the lived experience of mental health, it kind of niches myself enough so that I become unique when you add my likes and character types and everything else into the mix. Does that make sense? So don't be afraid to kind of niche down. And as Jack said, to show the depth that you have. And I wouldn't go into names now in case there's a lawyer on the session, but I know a very well-known speaker on national TV, kind of well-known speaker, who just turned up as a rinse and repeat. Right, I want to do this and get out of here. There's no. I guess it's the same. Jules and I have met at many conferences. You'll see amazingly structured speakers and won't form connection with you because it's superficial. There's no depth to it. Right, and they'll say, "Oh, run to the back of the room now is only £10,000." It's kind of like a sell script. We know when it's superficial. So as Jack says, don't be afraid to show depth, show authenticity, show vulnerability as well. Don't be afraid to share with people the truth. I guess, Marcus, from your perspective, one of the things that we both really kind of nerd out on is that I only use imagery in my slide decks. Because to me, imagery is memory hooks. It keeps me roughly where I should be, but allows me to riff with my material. Why is imagery such an important tool for speakers when it comes to kind of memory hooks and things?
Great. Memory hooks is that's fantastic. That's a great point. First of all, I totally agree with what you and Jack are saying. And the word that I've written down here is authentic. And we hear this word a lot these days. When you're building a brand, it's all about you. As you said, it's about your personality, your values, your likes, and stuff that you don't like as well. You mentioned that. That's equally as important. It's about you. But for the viewer, for the consumer, for your clients, it's about them. And when they look at these images, they're thinking, oh, I like the look of this person. I like the way they're branded, or I like the way this photograph is taken. It becomes a transference from you onto them. In fact, without getting too pseudo-intellectual about it, there's a couple of books, authors, I should say, that I recommend to my students, photography students, one by Susan Sontag on photography and John Berger on about seeing. And it's the way that images are used. And the great thing about photographs is it's a slice of time. It's open to interpretation. So it can be seen by different people in many different ways. And what's great about that from a business and branding point of view is that that person is involved in that photograph. They're looking at that photograph and thinking, oh, they're building a story in their head. Now, that one photograph, for a branding photographer, I've got to make sure that one photograph tells that story exactly as it needs to be. And as you say, is authentic.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I know we have people on the call today, people I've spoken to very recently, connected with very recently, who are looking to really start out their journeys in a bigger way, to kind of go pro as a speaker in the sense of the word, where to find bigger audiences, bigger stages, to spread their wings kind of thing. From each of you, I guess given at the start, not everybody has an amazing budget, not everybody has sometimes the flexibility in their careers to be able to invest lots of time. What are just a couple of tips from each of you from your respective specialisms? So Jack with videography, Marcus with photography. What couple of things can people start to do now, say on a low budget with a minimum time, to get themselves just up and running a little bit? And whoever wants to go first on that one.
Go on, Marcus. You got it.
Oh, I should point. I was pointing to you there, Jack.
Well, okay. Volunteer, Jack. I like that.
I can go.
You want some trade secrets? Then is what you are.
Trade secrets is good. Yeah.
Trade secrets. The biggest trade secret I can give is just do it. Don't overthink it. Just get on and do it. It can be done with your phone. Get your mate to do it. Just get the information out there. It's all about consistency and building it up. When you're ready, yeah, sure, you can bring in somebody like Jack or myself, and you're at that level, you've got the budget to do that. But initially, when you're starting out, and this is what we're talking about, I don't overthink it. Just get on and do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Great advice, Marcus. Jack?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is go on Amazon, buy a tripod, buy a budget microphone, and when you're doing your talks, you turn that into content. Yourself, find a way to edit on your phone, whatever you need to do, just do it, just make it happen. Marcus said this, you really need to be capturing everything you do, whether that's images, whether that's video. But yeah, you could probably, I'll have a conversation with anybody who wants it afterwards, just to find, a budget set up for under 100 quid. Let's do it. Give me a call, right? So hit me up. But the second bit would be make a plan. Absolutely make a plan of consistency. You don't have to just be talking about your talk. You want to be a speaker. You don't have to be just putting stuff out about speaking. Nick, you're a great example of this. Put out anything about your niche, put anything out about, what's happened to you, your story, the people that you've helped or inspired in any way. Just go and make that plan of like, I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to put this out, this out, this out, and I'm going to do that for the whole month. And then that's going to be the whole year. And believe me, if you are capturing that niche and making sure that your social media is on point with the right content, images, video, even blogs, anything, people are going to gravitate towards you. That will build your audience. And then you can hire me and Marcus to make it extra special.
Absolutely. And I think and thank you both for that. I think that's a really important point now. Very often our estimation of how much things cost professionally are way above what the reality is. So don't be afraid to ask open questions. The reason I wanted to bring Marcus and Jack on today is because you've now got a point of contact where you can have open conversations. They're both very honest, very approachable. You can talk to them about all the things that you need to know, but you're just too afraid to ask anybody else that you didn't know. I think certainly starting out, looking back in the day, I had an about.me page, which is a one-page website, which I'm not sure is still around now, but it's basically, but the reason I went initially for professional photography was because of the format of the pictures needed to be of a format where it looked great online, and actually the pictures that I could take first. So again, it's depending on where you're going to use these as well. I think the brand narrative thing is so important. I think it's, for those who don't know, I love country music. It's not all about losing your doggy and missus. A lot of it is, to be fair, but a lot of it isn't. There's two reasons I dress like this, and I've always dressed like this. The first one is, if I'm going to be self-employed for the first time ever, I'm going to wear what the hell I want. There was a bloody-minded element. The second thing, and I spent my career being suited and booted. The second thing was, as Jack mentioned earlier on, and Marcus as well, I cannot deliver authenticity if I'm not dressed authentically. So I really went heavy on the personal branding element quite early on. So that kind of belt buckle logo is a recent addition. Excuse me. The guitar feeling, the country feeling, it's basically introducing all the likes and loves that I've got in my world and turning it into a brand. Again, you create a market of one. Don't be afraid to inject all of the elements that bring you, what make you, you, into what you do. Because I think if I'm going to play by somebody else's rules, there's easier ways to do it than self-employment and now running a business. Trust me. But I guess the question to the guys here is, a brand narrative is so important. So the branding that you see on LinkedIn will be represented on the website, the company, even though, and this is an important thing to say, actually, I didn't intend to say this, but I firmly believe it's important to have a separate identity for you as a speaker away from your company. Both of my company and my speaker pages both have the same feel. It's still culturally me, but they look very different. And the reason that is because when I started to get bookings for speaking inquiries, and I had the business as well, people have this expectation of, if they're booking you through a company page, then there's a risk you're going to go in and try and sell stuff, or you're going to do this, or you're going to shake things up. But actually, if they just want to book a speaker, a separate speaker identity is really, really important. It's the same as if you're a founder of a tech company. I firmly believe it's important for you to have a stronger personal brand in your business. I hope that makes sense. But from the years of taking bookings and inquiries and dealing with event organizers, people want to know they're dealing with a professional speaker in every sense of the word. So by having a separate identity for you as a speaker, and it can align with how your company looks if that's the way you're going to go, but make sure you have two different places that people can go to. But all of my platforms have the same brand narrative. They culturally feel the same. In terms of the linguistics and the way that I type and the right, whether I'm speaking to a CEO or somebody on the grassroots, it's always cheers, mate, hey, that's kind of, because that's how I want to talk. I don't want to deal with people that can't deal with me like that either. So that, again, there's a bloody minded element, but I think that's really important. To develop a brand narrative across platforms, what advice would you give to people here? Jack or Marcus, again, whoever wants to go first.
I'll go first this time, Marcus. So with the brand narrative, you really need to, I think you need to identify your key points, what you are good at, what your story is. More so, actually, I think, who your audience is. Find out what it is that they want. And I think the only way you can do that really is to really play with, developing your brand narrative rather than sitting there thinking too much about it. Start putting stuff out. What do people react to? What feels right? What feels like a good way to explain your narrative, explain your story, get your emotions out there, get your vulnerabilities out there. What actually works? So play with that to start with, and then really sort of niche down on, okay, what's working? What do people like? Who is my audience? Who am I interacting with? Who am I talking to? And play that game, of sort of, going, okay, that's who I am. And I think that's what I want to, convey. And I want, people to look at me in that way, because that's what my talk is about, or that's what my business is about. That's what my brand is about. And you apply that both to your business, as Nick was saying, and you apply that to yourself. You keep the two entities separate, of course. But, there is a crossover synergy, because, people want to, when they go to your business and do the things that your business does, they want to feel like they're getting a piece of you as well. So, and just develop that. And that does take months, that can take years to develop, to really get on point, but you're not going to get anywhere without starting it. So yeah, just build it out, find out what your narrative is, play with it, work with it, and just make it happen. Just do it right now, today, after this, not right now, please.
I mean, that's such great advice. Don't wait for perfect to start. Because I guarantee you, if I was waiting for perfect to start, I would still be selling stationery. So, as much as I love selling stationery. But this is kind of the point, that we can't wait for that perfect moment, because there never is one. It's a constant evolution. There are things in my head where I think I'm going to say that is going to be brilliant and everyone's going to laugh. Absolutely nothing. It's bombed. And there are things that I tripped over that work brilliantly and I keep it in. So again, just play that reality, that evolution card. And Marcus, anything to add on the brand narrative, my friend?
Well, of course, I echo totally what Jack has been saying. And it's interesting, the way that you're separating the personal brand and the brand, as I talked about in my opening statement. I think you've got to look at the platform that's going to work for you. I mean, we talk about LinkedIn a lot because that's a B2B platform, business to business. Your audience might be somewhere else there. It might be on Instagram. It might be a B2C, a business to consumer audience. And in that case, you might approach your marketing in a different way. Instagram might be more reels focused, or that kind of thing, more snappy things. Whereas LinkedIn might be more about producing articles, giving away, being abundant with advice, and so on and so forth. So what I'm saying is, find out where your audience is going to be. And also, Nick, your personal brand, we said it was a cap, a beard, and now we've got country music. We've got three very simple things that you've distilled it down to. But that, as Jack said, that takes time. It's not just something you're going to come up with instantly. Even though it sounds simple, it's taking you time to get to simplify it and get to those three things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also, again, it creates, both of your comments again really reaffirm that you want to create a market of one for many reasons. I mean, to give a name check, one of my first mentors, a guy called Brad Burton, I went on his speaking course, and one of the first things that he said to me was, run your own race. There's a reason why racehorses wear blinkers, because it's so easy to get distracted about what other people are doing, especially people that are close to the world that you operate in. But I guarantee you, nobody likes a tribute act as much as they love the real thing. And people that get you. And through your personal brand, through videography, photography, people can get you straight away. All right, people may not get you sometimes, but that's okay. You're kind of forming your own tribe in that sense. So don't be afraid to do that. I think that's a really important point, again, just to re-emphasize what Jack and Marcus have both said, to kind of really build your game as that main act. So I guess strategies to elevate your speaking presence. We're going to make this a last point before we come back to the room for any questions that you have live on the room today. But strategies to elevate your speaking presence. Again, really open floor for this one, guys. Anybody wants to throw in anything, Jack, Marcus?
It's quite broad, this, isn't it? I mean, my strap line, well, I said I'm a branding photographer, and my clients that I tend to deal with exclusively are motivational speakers. And my strap line is aspirational photography for inspirational people. So nice. I think if you're going to be a motivational speaker, you've got to be inspirational. I think that's most important. And you should try and work on the strategies to do that. And that could be the way you light something. It could be the way you photograph it. It could be the treatment you give that photograph. What's called that thing? The way you finish the photograph. I've forgotten now. But the way it looks, anyhow. So those kind of things will help elevate your profile.
Love that. Thank you. I think from my perspective, we will do a separate session. I think it'll be a great balance and act session on the performance element of speaking. We will absolutely do that for sure. So stay tuned on that one. But from my point of view, from people that are looking to elevate their speaking presence, as in find bigger audiences, find bigger venues, find bigger stages, the most common question I get asked as somebody who's been doing this for a long time, hence a grey and a beard, is how do I become a professional speaker? And what they mean by that is, how do I become paid as a speaker? Because I guarantee you, calling yourself a professional anything means you've just been paid to do once that thing. It's not a quality brand or anything. But to consistently get paid gigs, it's quite easy. Do hundreds of free gigs first. Go to WI, go to Rotary, go to social groups, networking groups, charities. They're all looking for speakers with no fee attached to it, but it's great, kind of great audience dynamics testing. So if I have new material, I very rarely go general networking now. I always speak at conferences where my target audiences are. But if I have new material, I take it to a general charity organization event, donate my time, because it gives me a live audience to test new material on. I guarantee you, as soon as money becomes involved, as soon as you get asked to speak for a cost, then there's a lot more at play here, because bad news travels a lot faster than good news, especially nowadays. So we want to make sure that we have our material right before we take it to a paid audience. So I guess what I'm saying is, don't skip the shoe lever. Say yes to every opportunity you can right from the beginning. Speak to every audience that you can, diverse audiences, people that are not like you. That's the most important thing. And test your material. And if something doesn't land once, keep it in. If something doesn't land 5 times, you might want to think about changing it. Trust me, been there as well. Jack, anything to throw in on this, please?
Yeah, so if we talk about presence, being out there, being a speaker, and getting into it. Like you said, Nick, free gigs. I'll go back to how I started this business. It was creeping around, following other speakers being filmed and filming them. And that. But, it was really sort of getting out there, doing the free stuff, doing everything I could. I was blogging about doing the stuff I was doing. I was, putting out my name and everything else. And I built a business, a sustainable business that, is my life now. By just, making sure that I was living that life, even if I wasn't getting paid for it, I think is the best way to look at it. And just, make sure that you capture everything. So every free gig that you do, capture it. Just talk about it, discuss it, make sure that, you are online and you're building this, sphere of who I am. This is what I do. And I'm a professional doing it, even if you're not getting paid for it, just go for it. And make sure you're esteemed.
Thanks, Jack. Okay, parting wisdom. I'll come to the guys shortly, but for me, it's all about consistency. That's it. Even when you don't feel like doing it, show up every day doing something, but something that has your brand attached to it. So for me, it can be, obviously because of the cap and everything. So there's a cap emoji. I just put that on lots of messages. It works really well. I know it's something so simple, but show up every day. Make sure that you genuinely thank people that connect with you on LinkedIn, for example, not this kind of sales pitch or a rinse and repeat version. Have a human connection with people without any attachment attached to that kind of message either. I've got no desired outcome. I don't chase people. I don't follow people. Build it was something that I got taught early on by Brad Burton, that build conditions where people buy from you. Actually, it's not about selling yourself to start with, but build conditions that people buy from you. And that's kind of what I focus on doing. So every day, even if I don't feel like it, I will do at least 10 things that will push me in a better direction, whether it's showcasing an event I'm speaking at, that event that I'm hosting, if it's something I'm doing right now, who I'm doing it for. I'm always very open about what clients I work with. And again, people get really precious about this. Why do you share with people the clients that you work with? Well, easy. Firstly, I want my clients to stay with me through choice, not compulsion. They don't think I'm the only option that's out there. So I want them to choose to be with me. But if I tag Tesco in, for example, one of my retained clients, if I tag Tesco in on a LinkedIn post, it goes out to hundreds of thousands of people. So why wouldn't I tag them in them? Don't worry so much. Don't be overly sensitive about what's kind of being posted out there, because very often people post for inspiration or desperation, very rarely in between. Show up consistently and be consistent in your messaging as well. Don't be kind of reactive, purely be proactive. That's my parting wisdom, I guess. And I'll shut up now, pass on to the guys. Jack, Marcus, parting wisdom from you guys before we come back to the ring.
Yeah, I'll go. So yeah, absolutely. It is about being consistent, not being reactive. I think that's a very, very good point. I think, what you need to be doing is, honing your message. You might not have it all, like I said earlier, you might not have it all down now, but just keep putting out a little bit about who you are, what you do, why you do it, and who you do it for consistently. It doesn't have to be every day, but it has to be, very regularly. Make that plan, make it happen, and decide, who you're going to be in 6 months' time and what that kind of looks like, and work towards it and trial and error everything, and it will come together.
Love that. Thank you, Jack. Marcus, bring us home.
I would say be yourself, because everybody else is taken.
I love that. It's good. Okay, so if you have any questions, if you're watching on the recording or you have any questions away from here, it's team@forgingpeople.com. That will reach either one of us, whoever you want your question directed to. If you want to join our next session next Monday at 12 midday on the 2nd of September, we're talking about communication to neurodiverse audiences, essentially. That's what we're talking about. So we have Beth Thomas, we have Ben Sater and myself kicking around a really important subject, especially with awareness campaigns such as now. like myself, if you lecture, that's a really important thing to tune into. So if you want to join us, they're always free to attend. You're more than welcome. If you want to reach out to myself directly, it's nick@nickelston.com. It doesn't go to anybody else apart from me, completely confidential. I am only on LinkedIn and also YouTube if you want to subscribe for future Balancing Act episodes. And the website and the podcast is up there as well. 7 seasons of the podcast now, so there's going to be something in that for all of you, hopefully. I'm going to come back to the live room for any questions now, so I will be stopping the recording. So thank you for joining us today, and I'll catch you soon.